Hi, this is part 2 of how I survived my dark night of the soul and what I learned from it. So, in the last video, I described a little bit the beginning of it, how it all started, and at the same time, I think it doesn't really need like a situation or like a big thing to send you into the dark night of the soul. I think it just happens when the soul is ready to go there. And of course, there were more things than the situation I described in the last video. And it was family things like a diagnosis and other things that really were really heavy for me to process. And I think it's just how life is and how it's supposed to be. It just throws shit at you and you have to deal with it. And I think that's what life is about, and we will not be able to change it. The question is just, how do we deal with the shit? And how much capacity do we have to deal with it? And yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit more about how I felt during my dark night of the soul, and maybe also how different it was to the life I had before. So before, I was having money, I was successful in my career, I had many friends, I was going out, I was traveling a lot, I had plans for my future. And when I descended into the underworld, all of that was just gone. Everything. I couldn't work anymore, so I didn't really have money, and I also didn't want to socialize, and because I felt like I changed so much, I also didn't want to hang out with my friends anymore because I felt it just didn't feel right for me. So I also had no friends, and because I didn't know what I want or who I am, I also had no dreams and no more plans for the future. Nothing made sense. Like, there was also nothing that I would want to do, like, for fun. I didn't want to travel anymore. I didn't want to go out anymore. Nothing made sense. Everything felt shallow and empty. So it's, I don't know if you go through it right now or if you went through it at some point in your life, then you know. It's a very horrible feeling when you experience it for the first time. You don't know what to do with it. You don't know how to deal with it. You don't know what it is. It just feels like life doesn't make sense anymore. And you also don't know what to do so it start making sense. And during this period, I tried many things to kind of like come back to the normal life, but nothing worked. And no matter how bad it was and how bad it made me feel, I'm so grateful for it, and I see how important it was, because it completely rearranged my whole value system. And looking back now, I see that it really needed to happen. It really was necessary for me to grow into the person that I am. And what I've built to that point in my life was built on values and ideas that weren't mine. So it was all fake, more or less. It was built on an illusion. And it wasn't me as a sovereign being deciding for myself and creating from my truth, but it was more like a person repeating someone else's movements and just playing a character and chasing dreams that aren't mine, and being a character in a story that isn't mine. And superficially, it felt good, like the success and the traveling, the nice things I had in my life, the going out, the partying, like everything. It felt good, but at the same time, there was always this feeling of something is off. Like, am I living my life? Is it my life? Does it feel like my life? Or am I just like doing random moves that doesn't make any sense? And a lot of times I felt like I'm not living my life, and I could imagine that 90% of the people out there feel the same and never question it. And that's why I'm so thankful that whatever goddess, whatever thing, universe, God, goddess, whoever, highest intelligence sent me into the underworld, into the darkness of the soul. I'm really thankful for it, because it made me rethink and reorganize my value system and really see what values I have and what's important for me and what is not important for me. And the problem with this whole thing is that when you come back, you don't see the world as you were seeing it anymore. And the whole construct of society doesn't make sense anymore. This going to work, earning money to consume, to buy things that function as status symbols, all that living in this illusion, it doesn't make sense anymore. So it's really, really hard to function in a society that is built on illusions, where everyone else around me is kind of functioning in this system of illusions. And for me, it's not working anymore. I can't do that anymore. So it's really hard to exist in this kind of society. But at the same time, I could never go back anymore. And I wouldn't want to. So right now I'm at this point where I left the old world and it doesn't make any sense to me. None of it makes sense to me. And I entered this new plane of existence where all these societal ideas don't make sense to me. But at the same time, I haven't figured out how to move through it, being where I am now, like seeing through all these illusions, how to still create a life in it and not go crazy and not end up on the street and have a good life. And I think that's the only way to have a good life. I don't think that one can really have a good life in this state of illusion. I think it could look good from the outside, but if you haven't been to the underworld and came back naked with rearranged values and knowing what the authentic you wants, then you cannot have a good life. You cannot have a good life in the illusion. And I'm sure that my life will be so much better, and already is so much better than it was when I was still in the illusion state. But I'm still in this state of, let's say, in the middle of the journey. So I'm still figuring things out. And yeah, if you're also there, or you've been there, or you feel like you are kind of going into this phase, just don't worry, embrace the darkness, fall in love with the darkness, fall in love with the dark night of the soul, with the underworld, and just know it's the greatest teacher and it's gonna set you free. Don't fight it. Welcome it in. Sit down with it, have a tea, listen to it, learn from it, and it will go when it's time. But don't try to push it out. I think it will stay longer. So yeah, I hope it helped a little bit and maybe you felt less alone. And if you have any thoughts on what I've said, please let me know. Bye bye.